and I will like edit stuff out of this, and like I have a
Just
feel
no
like
memeing, please.
oh I guarantee you once I upload this, Phantom, Isaac, all of them will be missed.
No.
I don't have to be myself. So um yeah, my notes it's like I start off like I hear Riz get talk to you too as like this uh
Mhm.
but yeah, I kind of went off a similar like way he did, like start with the negatives and go on there.
Okay.
And so I did notice a few things, and I'm not sure if Riz could talk to you about this, that are kind of like errors. And I like the book, so I'm not gonna say it's I'm not gonna linger on the errors. Um, but I did notice there was some duplication.
Is it a chapter was duplicated?
Yeah, as chapter
Yeah.
17 and
I don't
18
know
are
why I corrected that and it still keeps happening. So I don't know if that's Amazon or what's up with that, but I'll have to check it out again.
yeah. And I'm assuming you know a lot of this, the errors and all that, so I
Mhm.
won't dwell on them. Um, and I also did notice that chapter 19, there was two chapters called chapter 19.
Yeah, those are things I corrected. So I don't know
Yeah,
why. I'm gonna have to go over that again because
and then
I
again,
don't.
I don't know how Amazon works, so
Mhm.
um,
Well, they're supposed to update the files as soon as I found out about the error. I
mhm,
had noticed it when I was just opening my Word and I was going through it. And I was like, okay, so I fixed all of it, and then I re-uploaded it into Amazon, and they haven't. They're supposed to update it within 72 hours. So
yeah,
I don't know why it's still like that. It's weird. I'm gonna have to do it again. That's kind of one of the bad things
got the
about,
book here.
okay. Yeah, and I have that copy and it's has that error. And I was like,
Yeah,
this is the older copy. So this is the one
mhm,
that had the error in it. So that's why I
mhm,
fixed it. And I don't know why they're still having the error in there. So I'm gonna look at it again, see if
yeah.
I can do that.
And see, I don't know the whole process of like publishing on Amazon, and I'm assuming you are self-published and all that.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool. Um,
Yeah. It's like such a big error. And I'm like, God, like I don't know why it's not still not fixed. So and you had ordered it not that long ago too. So I don't
yeah,
know.
it's I ordered it. I have it sometime in late March.
Mhm.
Um,
So
but yeah,
I need to look at when I updated it. I might not have updated at that time. It might have
yeah,
been
it
like
was.
after or something. But I'll check it out again before I
Yeah,
make
and
sure
like
that it's not because
yeah,
I think it skips a chapter too. So I don't know if you got to even read that part that Risket told me he didn't remember reading in the book. So I don't know if
mm,
that's
I well,
but
I
do you
don't know if I
remember
was.
David training a second time at the gym and being kind of like off to where Carlos gets mad at him? Do you
Yeah,
remember
I do
that?
remember that. I do remember that.
Okay. So
Where
I
like
think that
Carlos is
that
kind of being
was
more forceful towards him.
yeah, he grabs him and he like
Yeah,
holds him by the shirt. Okay. So that
mhm,
was when I had like done the corrections, that part was like not even in the book. So I
yeah,
don't know. I have to look at it. It's
yeah.
crazy.
No, and see, I read that part. I do remember that where he grabbed him by the
Okay.
shirt and like
Okay,
kind of
good.
was trying to be rough with him to kind of get him out of that
Yeah.
fear.
Hmm.
Which yeah, cool part by the way.
Yeah. Well, I need to ask Risket though if it did have that in there too with the double duplication. But he told me he didn't remember reading that, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
sent
just
him like a corrected copy, but I'll
like
probably
yeah,
send you a digital corrected copy.
yeah. Well, that's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just when I was reading, I read like chapter 17 and I went to chapter 18 and it's like as soon as I read the first sentence, I was like, this is the same thing. So I was like, I'm assuming like I'm assuming you knew, so I was like, I
Yeah.
won't dwell on that. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I've
I
been
got like
having an uphill battle with this book in some ways, so I feel like because I'm a Christian and there's a
Mhm.
faith element to this book, so I don't know if it's just the enemy trying to put a stop to it or what it has been, but it's been
Well,
kind of that way. So,
God always wins, so
mhm,
yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, I did notice another thing that kind of like bit of a bit of pet peeve of mine was
Mhm.
when when David is reloading, it says cartridge instead of magazine. That's
Okay.
that's a little pet peeve of mine, and I'm like, so
That
that's
is
not a
from somebody who's clueless about guns, so
well.
I did some research in when I
Mhm.
wrote the book, but I should have did a little bit more when it comes to, like, especially, like, I think as I go in the second one, maybe I can
Mhm.
consult you about guns and all that because,
I would probably talk to like ABF or something like that.
yeah, because he's pretty much an
I
expert.
know
But
a
just the
decent amount.
basics, very simple, you know?
I know decent amounts about like gun handling and all that, but I'm not
Mhm.
like you tell me the name of a gun, I'm like what?
I
um,
just I just know the ones of Fortnite.
that's fair. Yeah, and I did notice another thing, which I'm assuming you also know about like the this part, the blank page.
Oh, there's a blank page in there too?
Yeah,
Ugh.
170 page 175. At least for my book, it shows a blank page, and
Yeah, mine even though this isn't a very good copy, it still has that one, so I don't know what's going on
yeah,
with it. I'll
well,
go through it again though, but thank you for letting me know about that.
yeah, and it's just like I noticed that, and that's the only thing I've
It's just
seen on that.
like
I looked through the whole book and saw nothing else about the
I
blank
write
pages.
on a Word, docx, and then I have to upload it onto Amazon, and then I have to wait for that to load and then to go through it. And so I don't know, sometimes it loads kind of weird. Like some pages will
Hold on one
start
second.
like oh,
There we go. My headphone just shuts off randomly sometimes.
oh, okay.
Anyway,
So like
you were
I
saying?
just noticed that like the chapters are supposed to start at the top, and sometimes they'll be in the middle of the page, and I'm like, and I'll try to
Yeah,
keep fixing that, and then I don't know, but
I've worked with Word a little bit, so I know what you're talking about. Is where it's just kind
yeah,
of like, bloop, and then
it
as you get
just
rid of it, it gets rid of the whole thing. It's like, no.
yeah, it's just not compatible with Amazon. I mean, they have like the Kindle. I can
Mhm.
use that to make it look really good for like the digital version. But when it comes
Yeah.
to the book version, they let you just you upload your own documents, and then it doesn't translate very well.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but I'll look into that too. I'll make a note of that so that I can do that. Let me see if I have a pen
Yeah,
here.
and
And then you said magazine, right? Not cartridge.
yeah, the magazine. This is like little things like that, and I'd
Mhm,
recommend like consulting like Isaac, ABF, other people who like have or just anyone who you can who has gun knowledge and all that. If
mhm.
that just is a little pet peeve of mine, because like when it comes to watching movies and all that that have guns and all that, I always more notice the details, like
Well,
when John Wick
I am trying to make it as
reloads.
realistically possible as I can,
Yeah,
so I don't mind. But you said page number 75 is blank? 175?
175 is the page number, at
Okay,
least in my
I'll put
book.
that on there.
Well, at least in the book I ordered, not my
Okay,
book, but
and magazine. Is that when was that during which fight? The second fight or the
oh, that's I don't remember which one that is. Only I took a note of that one. I had like 4 or 5 days to do
It's okay.
that. Um,
Okay, and then chapter repeat, right?
yeah.
Chapter 19, right?
Yeah, it's well, chapter 17 and 18 are the ones
17.
that are
Okay.
copies.
Okay.
The there's 2 chapters called chapter 19, which they're different chapters,
Yeah, I
but
remember fixing that, so
yeah.
okay, well, I'll check it again.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find that little cartridge, thing.
Well, I'll just search through it. I can do the word where
Yeah.
just type in the word and it'll show me exactly where it
Yeah,
is.
which is a nice thing about Word, but,
Mhm.
I don't. I'm trying
Yeah.
not to use Word because like having to format it yourself to get like a like 5.5 by 8.5. It's like that's a lot of work.
Do you have any recommendations to use for my, as I write the book? Like,
Well, my main writing tool is I have it right here. Writer Duet.
writer duet?
Yeah, it's mainly for screenplays, but they also have a book section where you can work on books.
Okay.
And it is a good writing place, and you can use it for free. But there's also like paid stuff and all that.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
it's a fine writing app. I know quite a few people who use it in the indie space. So
Mhm.
I was recommended it early, like about almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so and I've been using it ever since. It's a great writing. It has like word progress, how many words you want to work on a day or a week or and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And just
Okay.
neat features. Anyway, um pretty much got all through all the negatives I had, which
Okay.
can
Well,
go
it's
on to the
very
positive.
helpful.
Yeah.
Unlike some people, I don't screech and cry because you said something that wasn't positive.
How dare I know it? Hey, criticism is good as long as it's
Yeah,
constructive. It's good.
constructive,
It's
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like my favorite indie thing is Epic Verse and all that. I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
watching their merch for
Mhm.
like well over a year now.
Where is
Um,
it? That side. You can
is that?
see signed by Eric right here in the sticker. And
Oh,
then
that's
that's
so
the
cool.
art that I did for the San Antonio meetup.
Oh, that's cool.
And
There's
yes,
also
Nero's
Dante.
sword
Yeah,
and Nero and Nero's arm right there.
yeah. Is that? I'm not a big Devil May Cry nerd,
Mhm,
so is that Dante right there
mhm.
in the
Yeah,
poster?
that's
Yeah,
Dante.
yeah,
When he's like 19, I think he's supposed to be there. That's
yeah,
Devil May Cry 3. Most
yeah. And
awesome game if you're to play one of the games, that would be
I'm
the
gonna
one.
be playing it soon.
Okay, cool.
I'm currently playing The Witcher 3. So,
Okay.
but anyway, I'm gonna go on to the positives, which are pretty much just praises. Like I love the plot. It's a engaging story, and it's not overly complicated, which not that's not a bad thing. Um, but it's
I'm
like
a simple woman.
yeah. Well, I mean, I did have a laugh because I was reading it, and my brother walks over. He's like, "Is that smut?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "No, that's not it." And I explained it to him. He was like, "Hmm, okay." Um,
What, 'cause of the cover?
yeah, like, I could kind of see that, but also at the same time, my first thought was, it reminded me of Dante,
Mhm.
and I was like, I saw the I could, if that was an intentional thing, and I just like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, Devil May Cry 3 and 4 are the biggest inspirations for this book.
Yeah, which is
So,
very cool.
I know you haven't played the games, but,
Mhm.
David's attitude, he is pretty much a mix of Nero and Dante together. Teenage Nero
Yeah,
and teenage Dante merged into
I
one dude.
played a tiny bit of four a long time ago, and I've played
Mhm,
one. I played through all of one, and I loved it.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that final
it's a
boss
good
was
game
fun.
game.
I have played a tiny bit of two, but I'm like, it doesn't feel the same, honestly.
No, I
And
think I've just played it once, and that was it.
I
Once is
do want to
enough.
go. Yeah, I do want to go through all of two and then play three, and like that's what I got all the games for.
Mm,
Um, but anyway, I do like David as a character. I think he's very fun, very compelling, and very he has a lot of depth to him,
mm.
and so do a lot of the actually side characters. See, I know the terms like I don't know how to pronounce like there's protagonist, antagonist. There's deuterologist. I don't know.
Duality?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. And then there's like different types of characters as um like different types of yeah, like the protagonist, antagonist. There's other types of that. There's foil characters. There's pretty much, I was like, huh, I'm noticing like different types of characters. I know who the antagonist is, which, you know, Dr. Winters is.
Mhm.
He's an interesting antagonist. And I I was like, okay, this is kind of cool that it's like mixing into like what kind of like scientists and did, like stuff they researched,
Yeah.
which, I'm gonna have to censor that if that's going on YouTube. But I thought that stuff was kind of cool. Like, it's kind of
Say
looking
Yahtzee.
into what they, yeah, that one, Yahoo. um, but yeah, they just, I like the whole kind of like embracing the whole of like what they did, like what they tried to research, the occult, the mystery, the superhuman elements, which is kind of like
Yeah.
I like that stuff. And what is it? It's a very fun story. It's definitely got a lot of good serious moments and all that. And I have one little question.
Mhm.
What is this mainly meant to be a fantasy series or sci-fi
I
or
would
just a
say
mix?
sci-fi
Yeah,
because, David is not like I mean, there's supernatural elements as in the faith aspect where, in the beginning, he hears the voice of God tell him, "This is not what you are."
yeah.
So
Which I
God
also
is
love that.
yeah, so he's reaching out to him in that way. So
Yeah.
there's and then he of course, when he meets, Caleb, who's a street preacher slash, scientist and medical,
A warrior of
um
God.
mhm. Yeah, he's kind of the one that's kind to like, letting David know because he is, like, so oblivious to faith and God and everything like that.
Yeah.
So he's kinda letting him know that God is reaching out to him.
I do also kind of like these the subtle implication that like um no matter what type of person you've been, God can save you. I love
Mhm.
that little bit of like, and I'm assuming that was an intentional thing, like underlying message was just like no matter what your life is, God is there, can be there for you if you let him,
Yeah.
which is, that's cool.
Mhm.
And I do always like seeing, like, I wasn't always a Christian, now I am, and I always like seeing faith when it's in media, when it's not like kind of corny
Or bad.
or yeah, or bad.
One extreme or the other.
Yeah, but this is like kind of like it's not the whole message of the book. It's not like the prioritized message, but it's there,
Mhm.
just kind of like trying to build on the world, build on the characters and all that. And I like that. And I kind of take note of stuff like that because like I'm also working on my own stuff and all that. And it's just
Mhm.
figuring that out.
Yeah.
Which yeah, it's it was a very impressive way you did that. It was just like subtle little messages, kind of like someone, God was there looking out for him, even though he felt alone and he was scared,
Mm.
and he was quite literally in his own hell.
Yeah.
And I love that, like how even though he felt scared and alone, this unknown voice kept trying to reassure him and managed to do so, even though he was in probably one of the most nightmarish situations any
Mhm.
17-year-old could be in.
Yeah.
And of course, the revel like I'm trying to avoid spoilers for anyone who wants to read it. Um,
Mhm.
but like it was a good book. I was quite enjoying reading it. In fact, when I got to like chapter 15, I was like, "Oh, this is really good." And I kind of flew through the rest of it and I was like, "Whoa, it's over already?"
Yeah, for me, it was a lot
Mhm.
more fun. Once I got past explaining everything, that's like, to me, that drags a little. I try
The
not to
world
let it.
building, yeah.
I had the original book, and that one was a lot longer, so I cut a lot out in the beginning because I was like, I need to get like back, get into the action because it's what I was looking forward
Mhm.
to the most.
Yeah, and that fight, the first fight scene with, that David and that werewolf was cool,
Hmm.
and, like, I'm gonna be, like, probably, putting, like, spoiler warnings and all that on this, but, yeah, it was just it was a really cool fight scene and all that, impressive. I liked that David didn't just annihilate the creature off the
Yeah.
get-go. Like, he was
Hmm.
struggling, he was kind of what am I gonna do here?"
Yeah.
Um, and then, like, he really got saved there.
Yeah.
Um, and I did notice one of my favorite moments is, like, when Caleb swears.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
completely overlooked that, and then, David, like, was like David commented, he's like, I thought, like, you didn't swear," and I was like, "What?" So I went back and saw that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, he did swear." Um, and yeah, it was so I was so,
It's one of the only two strong cuss words in the entire book, if you
yeah,
noticed.
there's not very many cuss words in the book,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
and,
I just thought that was kind of funny, to put in there
yeah,
too, because like, I don't swear at all. Um, I'm
I
not
wish
saying I
other
don't do
people
that mentally, okay, 'cause,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
fair.
it's still the same, like, but yeah,
Mhm.
I just never did when I was young. My parents were both Christians, and they both swore a lot, and I was like, "I don't wanna be like that." This seems
Well,
pretty hypocritical to me, so I was like, guess I guess, me and my brother, we really don't swear, and my sister and I she would never did in front of our parents.
it's a good
Outside of
practice.
that, though,
It's
but,
it's a good practice to avoid doing that, but, like,
yeah.
I make a
So I
bad habit
was
of it.
but I was just trying to make the story, like, for, Christian teens and
Yeah.
also for unsaved teens, so you have to, like, find kind of a balance between them.
Yeah, and you don't wanna go too much in one direction or too much in the other because, like,
Yeah,
you'll turn off one group or the other.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think it does do a pretty good job at the middle ground thing, like, trying to avoid, like, that and all that, but it is not a book for everyone, like, you can't
yeah.
satisfy everyone, and I've never liked when people are like, "Oh, this thing is something for everyone," and I'm like, "No, can't have that." Otherwise, if it's something for everyone, it's something for no one, so,
Yeah, I would
yeah,
say,
and
like, it's for more of a maybe the Marvel group, the Blade or the, fans of that, maybe not like a PG version of the PG-13 version of The Crow.
or
But
ironically, the
just
fans of Devil May Cry,
yes,
because
Devil May Cry
that's
fans,
a lot of
yeah.
the vibes I got from it,
Mhm.
as someone with very limited knowledge of those games.
Yeah.
But,
So, yeah.
um, yeah, it's a fun story, I think probably my favorite character was, Caleb.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought and I like that, like, he's military background and all that,
Yeah,
and I like the whole, like, he's, kind of it's building that there stuff happened before. It wasn't just, like, the
yeah,
world created in this moment and then ended right as the book ended. Like,
yeah,
it feels like there is a world beyond it, and
yeah.
I do wonder, like, do you just plan, like, a few books of the series, or do you just wanna go until, like, you have no more ideas for it?
I just like to be kinda like Ripa, just, like,
Yes.
expand on that universe,
Yeah, and
because when I started writing, Project 7, it
mhm,
used to be called, Project 7: The Blood Chronicles, and that's actually gonna be the title for the 2nd book, because I wanted
ooh,
to, like, put it back there, so that's been copyrighted, but it was alongside, 3 other titles. One's called,
mhm,
Jagged Nightmare, and that's a comic book that you can see online on, webtoons.com,
mhm,
and then there was another story called, Tashima's Jade. That's another story that deals with, trafficking. And then there was another story that is, oh yeah, Jacket Nightmare deals with child abuse. That's like the main thing, and the main character, Jacket, is a pastor during the day, and he's a young pastor. He's still like learning the ropes, and he turns into Jacket at night with
So
these nightmares. So that
this is
was
like your first novel.
yeah.
Mm, yeah,
So
and like, go ahead. Mm.
no. Then the other one is a lot more military. That one's called Operation Arms. So all four of these stories were all copyrighted. The characters are designed already. The stories were like maybe like one chapter to half a chapter is written of each of the stories. Well, except for Jacket Nightmare, it's almost like almost the entire series already. But
Yeah, that.
I always kind of pictured that they would turn into like I and envisioned them all to be comic books. So initially they're going to be like Ripaverse, where they're going to have like you know a series where David meets up with Jacket and they work together and things like
Hmm.
that. So
Oh, so it's gonna be, you do one like it's like this whole universe where you're building. It's like
mhm.
kind of um that's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah,
And
because
so
I mean,
these are all your stories, right? Like these are
mhm,
all like yours, and like, hmm.
yeah, they were all stories that I started back in 2009, and they're
So
all
yeah,
copyrighted back
do you
then.
plan on turning this into like a graphic novel or like comic book series,
Yeah, I'd like to do
or just
that
keeping it?
too. I like to do that, but of course, when I first started like writing the novel, when I went back to writing it, I had like maybe chapter one already pre-written,
Hmm.
and then I was going from there. But then I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just make it into a video game because because it is inspired by video games. So I wrote it as a video game when I was like putting it together. But then I was like, it's going to take too long, and I'm not really an animator or able to put this video game together. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do a novel. I was like,
Yeah,
it'd be a lot faster, and then I could just go from there.
I've definitely been in that boat where you're like, should I do this or should I do that? And it's like,
Mhm.
I'm probably gonna stick with this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it also another thing about going back to writer duet is they have a page where like you type of thing where they have stuff where you can write screenplays,
Mm.
stage plays. You can write movies, TV shows, books, graphic novels is one of the options there, and then
Oh,
and
cool.
they have a nice variety of stuff you can select to kind of build a baseline on.
Wait, are you a sponsor?
No,
No, I'm just kidding.
I know I've talked about it a lot. I think like it's a very interesting universe, and I want to go back to like Caleb being in military. Like, is
Mhm.
I noticed there is a decent military presence in the book. Is that like, yeah, like is that just personal reasons? Like you have family or friends, or you just kind of thought it was a good plot, like plot
I think
device?
because, well, like when I was doing the story of Operation Arms, it's like a
Mhm.
very military thing. So I just like since I never finished that one, Caleb has kind of become similar to that character that was in that story,
Mm.
like with the military background and everything. But the character in Operation Arms is a chaplain
Hmm.
for the military. But I just thought it would be like kind of interesting. Like I don't know, like when you write a story, it's like I never planned any of this stuff out. It just like started like just kind of like writing itself. So Caleb being, I was like, okay, well, he's a scientist, so he understands. But then all of a sudden the military thing came in. And I was like, okay, he's in the military then. Or he
Yeah.
was.
So, what type of writer are you? Are you someone who like just outlines and like kind of plans it all out, or do you just kind of like are you a pantser? Like you kind of just write off the seat of your pants or something, right as you go?
I have a general idea of just like maybe 3 plot points or something, but then everything else just starts forming itself. Like I'll get an idea, I have my phone, like I'll get an
Mhm.
idea during the day and I'll just type it into like what I have on there, like just a little phrase of what he's saying or something, and then that will later become a full chapter. It's just I just on the spot, like I'll go, oh, that's a really cool idea. Put that in the book.
Okay. So, I'm assuming like, so why did you settle on the name Project 7 for the book?
Because I was a big fan of Final Fantasy VII.
That's Can't argue with that one. That's
You
fair.
can see my
Um,
collection up there. Tifa,
yeah, I did see
Reno,
a
blah, blah,
few.
blah. Okay, yeah.
I'm also not a huge like no, I'm not very knowledgeable on Final Fantasy, but I do know the basics. The only Final Fantasy game I've played though was 14. I think that was the MMO one.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I don't have much knowledge on it.
yeah. So that's where the 7
um,
comes from, Final Fantasy 7, because it's
yeah.
kind of a homage to them, to
Hmm.
that series, because I never actually played the original game, which
Hmm.
is funny, but I knew a lot about it because I love the Advent Children movie. I love like the character designs. I love that they were able to make an anime character actually look real, back in that time when they're first doing it. Just
Yeah,
like blew my mind. I was like back when they used to have the Informer magazines and I saw Cloud and Sephiroth on the cover. I was like, wow, who are these characters? I got to know who they are.
yeah,
And I loved all the artwork, and that kind of inspired like Tetsuya Nomura. Like his designs are amazing on Kingdom Hearts and on Final Fantasy 7, or just really anything. He's just an amazing artist, and he inspires. Like I wish I could do my characters look more like that, but it wouldn't look as realistic.
yeah. So, like, are you planning like what's your art style kind of going to be like if you do make it into like is it going to be like more kind of more anime-ish, or is it going to be more like kind of comic book where it's kind of more realistic in a sense?
I'd say just comic book style.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know. I just really can't see projects that are being adapted to like an anime like that style, but I mean, I can see it as an animation being like a similar anime style, but just for some reason not as a comic book. I would
Hmm.
just do the traditional American comic on it.
That well, that's fair. And
Yeah.
like it's a fun story, and obviously there's going to be more. Like it says
Mhm.
to be continued at the end of the book, and it's
What'd you think of the
I'm pretty
cliffhanger?
I
Was
expected
it
it
like,
honestly.
darn,
I,
darn
I,
you?
I pretty much I was like, dang it. Like around like when I got to the last chapter, I was like, he's going out for another fight. I feel like there's one chapter, so if this gets set up and all that,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay. And by the end of it, I was like,
I know
I felt like,
Risket told me that he thought he would almost make it, on it.
yeah, I thought that was gonna be like a last second, like, oh, get out of there alive.
Yeah, all those fight
Yeah.
scenes are like the funnest part. I loved writing those parts where he's, fighting the creatures. Like, finally, I can stop talking about all this exposition and everything. I can get
Mhm.
into the fight because I was so looking forward to that.
Well,
Because
the
when,
fights were fun.
I would like listen to this song by, I don't know if you ever heard Thousand Foot Crutch.
Which one?
Thousand Foot Crutch, TFK. They did a song called Rock Fist. I don't know if you ever listened to it, but I mean, well, if you don't know the group, but
Um, yeah.
but there's a song that they
Oh
do, and
wait, nope. I've listened to some of their music.
okay.
Courtesy
It's
Call
an
and all
old
that.
song. Yeah.
I've listened to Courtesy Call, War of Change, and Take It Out on
Mhm.
Me, and Let the Sparks Fly.
Yeah. Now there's an old song that they did back when they first started. It's
Mhm.
called Rock Fist. And when I heard that song, I really loved it. And I would just like picture the fight scenes with David. And some of that's what has gone in the book. The part where, well, I'm trying not to be too spoiler, but I guess it won't really matter. But the part where he jumps on the car and then he kicks it, does a backflip, kicks it against the wall.
Honestly, when I read that, and like I said, I have very limited knowledge of Dante and all that. I was like, I could see that. It just and the fact that the officer forgetting his name. Oh my gosh,
Alberto.
Albert. Yeah, that's it. There you go. Um, I loved his like. He's like, how am I going to explain this? It just I like the little banter between Alberto and David, and it's like
Yeah.
I feel like they're definitely going to become friends and all that. Like and I'm like I like Alberto as a character. I figured as soon as he was introduced in when he was introduced, I was like he's gonna be there for a while.
Yeah.
um,
He's like
yeah.
somebody that didn't exist at all until I started writing this book, and then he
Mhm.
just became a he was just gonna be a one-time save, and then he became part of the story.
Yeah. Which, writing like that happens when you're writing, and
Mhm,
like things don't always go the exact way you planned. And I think that's the best way of writing. Is like I do prefer more outlining things when I write. So I like to get more
mhm,
detailed. Like how I've written things is like I write act one, like a one sentence of act one sentence of
mhm,
act two, and like summarize them in one sentence, and then expand them into a paragraph, and I kind
mhm,
of go on there. And with so I'm a huge fan of like danger, like Jack Carr, the Terminal List series, and all that.
mm, mhm,
Um, one thing I just noticed, like he segues each like part of his book into three
mhm,
parts, three, and he has like a little page that says like part one and part two and a part three in his book.
mhm,
So he kind of like when like part one ends or act one ends, and when act two ends,
mm,
and I do notice like most of his books, like the first three books he wrote, he has part one to three. In the fourth book, it's up to part five, which is it follows the
mm.
five act structure.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that was a cool thing that like he does, like kind
Yeah.
of a way to kind of divvy it up and make it kind of, I guess, more digestible.
Mm,
And I think it's a neat little thing, and I don't see
mm,
many people doing that.
mhm,
And I'm assuming like you're gonna have more perspectives and all that
mhm.
in the next book and all that.
Yeah.
So one thing he also does is he kind of segues, kind of has like he doesn't always like split off like each like different perspective through chapter, but like when he goes to another perspective in the same chapter, he has like three dots, and then it
Mm.
signifies a it's a different scene in the book.
Oh, okay.
And I like little features like that. Some people do lines, and some people do other stuff like that, and
Mm,
kind of like
mhm,
I've never actually written and released a novel yet, and that's something I'm hoping to do soon.
mhm.
But
Okay.
I've been like I pay attention to like every little detail I can about books and all that,
Mhm,
and it's just like I like the way he like Jack Carr does it, and I think he's
mm,
an excellent writer. Um, but of course, nobody has to copy him and all that. Nobody has to, it just I, I like the way that happens, and the way it kind of makes it more like consumable as a
mm,
product. Um, but like another question I have is like, so you are like kind of you are Christian, so
mhm.
were you always intending to have it kind of kind of have faith intertwined in the story, or was it just kind of like, what, it kind of works?
No, well, I've been a Christian since I was, like, 7 years old. So I've known the Lord for a long time in my life.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
so I always wanted to do whatever I did for God, I wanted to do for him. And, when I started writing these, comic books, I was part of the Christian Comic Books, .net. It was a group of a bunch of Christian comic book creators. So that's what everybody focused on was creating, Christian comics, and supported, some of the fellow creators. Um, and so that's what I wanted to do, but I just didn't want it to be cheesy. I wanted it to have, a little bit more just have more action, more fun, and just have, like, little seeds of faith, scattered throughout it. Because I mean, I love Christian comics, but a lot of it is very, um, like you said, cheesy.
Yeah,
It's like
it's kind of like
it's too over.
corny and
Mhm. And I wanted to change that. That's why when you look at Jack and Amber at that time I was working on it, it didn't look like it was, gonna be a Christian story. It
well,
was like
yeah,
it looked very far from it.
plus
But
like some of the best
got
like
my comics here.
novels and all that. Some of the best novels of all time have faith or oriented mixed into them.
Hmm.
Like J.R. like Tolkien, he was a very well known,
Oh,
believer.
I love J.R. Tolkien. I've
Yeah,
read Lord
he's
of the Rings like multiple times.
I
He's
haven't read
one
all
of
the
my
books.
influences.
The only book I've actually read is The Hobbit, which it's one book, and but I love them, and I've also like loved the Narnia series.
Mm-hmm. So
Lewis was a
my friend did
great.
this cover for me of my character Jacket Nightmare.
Oh,
Sadly, he passed away from cancer
oh,
a while back.
sorry to hear
So
that.
yeah, we did the cover and then I did the artwork here.
Wow, but that's your artwork.
Hmm. And that's like the character Jacket Nightmare. So
That's
it's
pretty
just
impressive. And so, like, are you gonna like? Do you release these on like Amazon, or is it just this one right now? Just the Project 7?
that just that one. I might, like I got like 3 issues of this right here, and I never finished
Mhm.
the fourth one. So if I ever get around to finishing the fourth one, I want to like to make it to a graphic novel in there. It still
And
would be
then like
kind of
kind of
short though.
drop it as a small like a small compendium and all that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. I definitely buy that. Yeah, because like I mean, you are a great writer. It's like the stories are great to follow and all that,
Mhm.
and like characters are interesting. They have depth and all that. They don't feel bland or like they're they feel like their motivations make sense and all that. Like David throughout the book, he's kind of standoffish of everyone now because of what happened. And I
Mhm.
love the slow progression as to where he's trusting the people around him. And I
Yeah.
also love like the um how him and Max, they very much were like in the beginning, like kind of like I don't like each other. Um
Yeah.
but he I love that progression, like how they and they people like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, like romance and all this is like it's kind of cringy and corny, and I'm like, if it's a part of a good story, it's fine.
Yeah.
And
Especially if
I
it's not
kind of
like
am curious.
the full focus of the story. That's
Yeah, and
it's kind of in the background a little bit.
I am kind of curious. So like, what was that originally intended in the series, or that kind of just happened to
Um,
Max and David?
it's kind of it's so weird because I used to like I did other stories too before. Like back in I was writing like a lot of stuff and I did these stories like a comic book-ish style, and it was like I think my first go at a comic book called Dark World, and it
Mhm.
was like kind of anime style, and again influenced by Final Fantasy. That one, my computer crashed. I lost all the files to that
Oh,
story and to another one called Prince of Nanar, Nanner, which sounds funny, but it's supposed to be
Nanner.
Nanar, not
Yeah,
not Nanner Nanner.
you tell me it's not like freaking Namor, Namor.
Yeah, Namor.
Yeah,
But
um,
there was
that
kind
that
of
sucks
like
when you lose your progress and stuff.
a similar kind of a romance-ish in that story, and since that story never was finished and I never, got to realize it, I just kind of I think Max kind of like got that they got that character that storyline in this book instead. So it's like an old like trope, I guess you would say.
Yeah. See, I say, and I thought it was fine. I thought like the progression felt natural,
Mm,
and yeah, I was like, this is kind of cool. It's a cool. It adds more depth and all that to the characters, and it didn't. I was thinking, I was like, is this going to be a thing or is this not going to be a thing? Kind
mm,
of like wondering, like, is it going to be like there, or is it going to be just kind of like hinted at and then like denied?
mhm.
But it's yeah, it was a good book and all that, and it's definitely um I enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the what else you've got for the series.
Yeah. For each character though, I've had to come up with backstories. And I think somebody asked me before, are you gonna like tell Caleb's backstory and how he met all these military guys and when they did raid that that lab 13 years
Yeah.
prior.
That I did
So
wonder that, like, that would be an interesting kind of story and all that.
yeah, and developing these characters because in the next book, I'm going to introduce another part of the team,
Ooh,
and we're also going to get Winter's backstory. So you're going to know more about him, his motivations.
well, that answered my one of my questions.
Yeah, I mean,
I
because
yeah, I had a
I've
list of
like
questions on that, so that was one of them. Um,
I've like rewritten the first chapter of part two like three times already because I was trying to get the perfect way
mhm,
to have Winter's perspective, and so I thought I did it like a little from his perspective, but then went back and said, no, I'll just
mm,
tell the story like somebody's watching his story, and then
kind of
we'll
like
go
he's
into
monologuing, kind of like he's explaining his life, or is it
uh,
like from someone else's perspective when they're just seeing his life?
it's like I guess you would say the God's point of view,
Oh yeah,
where
it's
yeah,
like, have you read The Book Thief?
no,
Oh, it's a nice, it's not nice, but it's a World War II series,
hmm
and the narrator of the series is Death. It's Death
mm,
itself as the narrator, and it's talking about this girl
hmm
who she steals books and all that because she likes reading. And during World War II, and books she's often getting more interested in aren't the ones getting burned by the or Yahtzees. And
gotta remember.
I'm not monetized, so
Okay.
probably not gonna be for probably a year. Um, yeah, no, it's a really good story, and like Death is the narrator, and they do
Mm.
that in the movie, which it's also a really good movie. It has the guy who played Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean. He played in it.
Oh. Mm.
Don't remember. There's a few major actors in there, and I thought it was a great movie, and
Mm.
I the book too, and like I like that perspective where sometimes it's not like person A or person B. It's divine entity or just a third party, kind of
Yeah.
just hitting. And I think that's fun, like kind of cool and interesting, and it just I like I noticed that, and I like the hints of divinity in the book,
Mhm.
and I'm assuming like you'll go kind of more into that kind of.
Yeah, because I think the story is just about him realizing his purpose and why he's there, why he's here. And by the end of the series, he'll kind of embrace that purpose.
Yeah,
For now,
which
he's just trying to recover and just like try to get
figure out
life
why,
together. Yeah, where everything that happened to him.
which fair enough, like honestly fair enough.
Mm.
um
Were
it's
Well, I was curious, were you pretty shocked about his dad in the story? Or did it
I
seem like
I
it was implied already when the
I did
revelation
I did
happened?
think it was it seemed at least to me a little implied, but also I tend to notice things like when it comes to reading. I tend to notice things that people won't usually notice. Now, I'm
Mm.
not saying like I'm some Sherlock Holmes when it comes to reading. It's just kind of like
Like you
when I'm reading,
suspected. You just
I
need
pay
the
attention to like,
confirmation, I guess.
yeah, and kind of like I expected, kind of like in the beginning when it when I did like kind of like suspect like after he got kidnapped, I was like his dad is distant and like cold and all that. I was like, I don't know, he might just be an a-hole billionaire who's stuck up and all that, but I was like, I feel like there's more to that, and because like I've listened to a lot of people, like a lot of writers and all that, who say don't kind of like it just kind of like world building and all that, or like don't have characters kind of feel like they're just there for the sake of being there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I that's kind of like I try to point thing I like try to connect the dots and all that. And I kind of like I did kind of just kind of suspect, but like it did like when it happened, I was like, oh dang.
There's a
Um
confirmation.
yeah, it was confirmation, and um like I'm assuming like the scene where the intern was watching the video of when
Mhm.
the experiment. I'm assuming that
Yeah.
was his father, and
Yeah.
who was like kind of looking away from the screen and all that.
Mhm.
And I did wonder, I was like, in that scene, I was like, is it just he's not looking because he doesn't have the like the guts, the like the strength to watch how like his son being tortured? And I did wonder that, and I am like I am curious about like why was he looking away, or did he just not care?
Well, in the second book, we're actually gonna learn more about, his dad. He's gonna
Mhm,
be somewhat of a more of a front character for a bit, and
hmm,
so you're gonna understand, like one of the things that influenced me, I think, with writing this book has been, Attack on Titan of all anime. I watched the entire thing, and I love that how he would, like, have something happen in a story, and then he would call back to it, and then
hmm.
you would figure out everything that happened behind that, that happened in that beginning of the story.
It feels like it's
So
connected.
yeah.
Yeah,
So when you read the second book, you're gonna be like, "Oh, okay. I kind of understanding now
yeah,
why
and
this happened," and, it's gonna be I think this revelation is gonna be a little it might be a big deal that's gonna happen in the next one.
yeah. I see you're
So,
just trying not to spoil
yeah.
it. I can't speak. But it's yeah, I'm liking the whole story so far, and I like I said, I can't wait for number two.
Mhm.
And what was it you said that you dropped the title, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know if you want that out there in the public yet. So like,
Yeah,
um,
because it was the original title for the
mhm,
book back when I wrote it. It's just called Project 7: The Blood Chronicles, and I don't
mhm.
know why I named it that, I just did. And
Well,
so that's what it
sometimes the title just fits.
yeah. I just thought it would be interesting, like, because we're finally well, initially, he was gonna be like Dante with a sword and 2 guns, and
Mhm.
I could, like, wind up getting rid of all that. It was gonna be
Well,
more like, fantasy-ish, or I guess, like, Devil May Cry fantasy world-ish, but then I decided to make it
yeah,
more real world.
I do like yeah. I thought it was kind of interesting, like kind of like it seemed like it's interesting play on mythological creatures and all that. How
Mhm.
they're not usually like usually like they're curses or they're evil spirits or demons, and they're just
Dracula.
Dracula.
Mhm.
As in like the Bram Stoker novel, like he makes a deal with the
Mhm.
devil, or
Yeah.
he's a student of the devil, and which my personal opinion on like vampires is I think they should be portrayed as evil, but I
Mhm.
like that this isn't like your generic like it isn't generic um vampire curse or evilness. It's just science going crazy,
Yeah.
and it's it's great. It's a great spin on it, and it's not completely unique, and I don't think you expected or you tried to make it be, but
No.
it is like I like that like whole like when I read the book, I looked at the book, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a fantasy series. And I was like, oh, it's a sci-fi series. Um,
Yeah.
but I like that. It's definitely not common is a good way to say it. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
and
but in part 2, you'll find out more too. I guess it's not really that much of a spoiler because it should be obvious that he's influenced to uh Dr. Witcher's has an obsession with vampires and werewolves.
yeah,
So in the next book you'll see a little bit. Well, I mean, it'll just show that, talk about that for a little
mhm.
bit, but yeah.
Yeah. I think that's also very interesting. Like interesting how like Doctor Winters like he created um his perfect freaking creation, and
Mhm.
I did wonder like if he created this and it's been 7 years, does that mean he's also done more, or is there like I'm assuming that's going to be revealed in number two.
Mhm.
And I also did notice like at the end when David is in a fight, um I figured like as soon as like they were going separate ways, I was like, this is short. this could easily be like the end of the book where they kind of like happily ever after and all that. But I
Mhm.
feel and I always like kind of like yeah, this in I assume like probably gonna go sideways. And then like those like they were robots, right? Like
Yeah,
um kind of like
like
went after him.
androids.
Yeah, like Terminator. um
Well, he even says Alberto says that
yeah,
in the
yeah,
thing.
that's kind of what I brought it up. And it's yeah, it was I love the references to others like other popular entertainment.
Oh, Batman.
Yeah. Which I love Alberto. I tried to like be like, "Oh, Batman," and David was like, "What?" Um, yeah, it's fun and all that, and I think it's just a very good story, and I can't wait for more. It's fun.
Mm, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I
that's what
I've got
what you're saying about Alberto is like those were the funnest parts, right? I love that's why I guess he became part so much more of the
mhm.
story. You know, I just love especially the part when he gets mad at him and he pushes him out of the church. You
Yeah.
remember?
Alright, go away. That's yeah.
All right, that's it. Get out.
He's like, "You're done here."
And I
Yeah.
guess Risket was asking me about that. Like, why does
Mhm.
he, he's like that with Alberto? And I told him, well, I mean, when he sees him, he sees what he should be. He should, married, have kids, should have a normal
He
life.
sees he sees a man he wanted to be
Hmm.
or like hoped to be and how that's kind of never gonna happen for him now.
Yeah, he sees someone with a normal life, and he
Mhm,
he envies him. He's really jealous of him, and that's
mhm.
what it comes
Okay.
down to. That's
His
why he has
happiness,
the
his life
attitude.
kind of yeah, his happiness and his life, Alberto's life and all that, it kind of
Hmm.
makes David jealous.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
surface, you read a little bit about Alberto's
Mhm.
backstory, that his life wasn't that easy either.
Yeah, no, and he worked to get where he was and
Hmm.
how he met that pastor who kind of helped save him and all that,
And
and
he's named after my uncle that passed away last year.
the pastor is?
Hmm.
Hmm,
Ronaldo.
that's cool.
Yeah, and I didn't get to I well, he knew the book was there, but I didn't get to tell him that he was in the story, or
Careful,
his name is.
according to some haters for the Rippaverse, if you have relatives if you have relatives in self-insert, but,
Yeah,
yeah, it's, I like the story, and, of course, like, there are errors and all that, but,
yeah.
you knew all of them pretty much already, so I'm like, yeah.
Check that again.
Well, it's always a fun process. I know I've heard that self-publishing is probably one of the most challenging things to do because
Yeah.
it's all that. And um, I'll just show the cover of the book, for any viewer who doesn't know it. I'll just show it. Um, and yeah, it's nothing. It's not complicated cover. It's just like you see the main character. It's I also love that he's holding
The
the
cross.
cross that that's meant to be the one that Max gave him, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, which I think that's cool. And I also do have the trailer. Just got to get it set up if you want me to share it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Boom, boom, bum. I know what I'm doing.
You're learning, you're learning.
Oh yeah, I'm totally learning. Um, here and let me know if you can hear it.
Yeah, you can hear it. Project 7 follows the story of David Ryder, who is a 17-year-old son of a billionaire who was kidnapped one night and taken It's a
to
little
this
loud.
underground facility Little where loud
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
experiment on him. He escapes to find that
Here.
7 years has passed, and he's found dying in an alleyway by Caleb
I
Kaler,
don't
who
know how to
takes
turn
him
it
in
down,
to
so
the sanctuary. There, he begins to heal and learn the ones that are behind this are also the ones releasing creatures into the city. He decides to help to find out who they are and to
okay.
defend the city. His name is David, and he's Project 7.
Here. See.
I'm still learning this, so
Yeah.
um, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
the audio.
It's a shorts. I don't know about how that works with the volume.
I didn't see no audio. Actually, never mind. I
Mm.
found one right in front of me, just red top, and I was like,
Just turn your headphones down a little bit, okay?
yeah,
Just put that warning.
just sound
Headphones
warning.
down a
Yeah.
little bit.
Um, yeah, and I like that trailer. It's a simple explanation. It's nothing complicated, and
Mhm.
I like. I could definitely see how this could be a game, though.
Yeah.
Like I could see
This
the
part right here that I'm gonna
yeah.
tell you, you're gonna have to edit out.
Okay.
It's nothing bad.
Edit warning.
Yeah.
End of edit.
Cut it out.
No.
It's
So, just
yeah,
keep in
it's
prayer that these guys, because if it's an animation, these are the guys that I would like to come in and
kind
do
of
the voices of these characters.
it's a good book, and I liked it. I do recommend it to anyone who wants to something new to read. It's
Mhm.
I did notice it is kind of for kind of young adults and teenagers. It's not
Yeah.
really for older, like 30, 40, 50-year-old people. It ain't no Lord of the Rings. But it's a good story. It's quick. It's nothing like super 400-page story.
Mhm.
But I like it and I recommend it.
It was close. I edited a lot.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
dig it out. I got the original book here, and it was a lot longer. I think it was like over
novel.
almost 400 pages.
So it's an
No.
omnibus now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I liked it, and um, yeah, it's definitely like I'm gonna give a like I was gonna give a review on Amazon. Kind of try to get the book out there a little more, even though it's just one review.
Mm.
Um,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
yeah, and just trying to get like I've been kind of like I gave a shout out earlier on the stream.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I
get
saw that. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. I just also gave a subtle jab to someone. Um, but I think it has potential to, and I think you're a great writer, and like you have potential to make a really good series that can kind of blow up. And I hope it does kind of blow up into the kind of into popularity and kind of get out there
Yeah.
because it is far more deserving than a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And like, of course, the errors and all that, but those are all errors
I
that
don't
can be
say
kind of
that just
fixed.
about mine, but just like in general, there's a lot
Yeah.
better stories out there
Oh yeah,
than the
like
ones that Hollywood
especially in
makes.
the indie space. In the indie space, there's so many stories
Mhm.
that deserve to kind of go noticed,
Yeah.
and this is one of them. It's a good book and all that. It is it is a compelling, interesting characters, fun dialogue, fun banter, and I think it's worth people's time to check out. And yeah, I don't
Thank
really
you.
got much more than that. We've already been going over an hour, so
Yeah.
um, like I thank God wanted you to work on this book, and it's nice to see that you actually got it out. And
Mhm.
it's great seeing that like you kind of like, and I'm assuming writing was like is always been like a goal of yours, a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you followed your dream and like you're working on what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of inspiring and is kind of segues into a question I almost forgot to ask was
Mhm.
and like any advice to like its aspiring writers and all that kind of like how to stay motivated on it on like projects
Um,
and
just do it.
do it. Shia LaBeouf, just
Yeah.
do it.
You just gotta sit down and make yourself sit down and do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's very hard. Like I said, started a long time ago, and
Mhm.
this, I don't know why. I guess because God knew I was going to go through all these things and this big, huge gap of time, nearly a decade, of of not developing the story past, chapter 1. And all of a sudden the story just kind of like just flowed out of me.
Yeah, it kind of just
And
unfolded. Yeah,
mhm,
and yeah,
and
that's always a good sign.
yeah, so I believe that it's just dependent on God's timing. He's just like when he knows that I'm ready, he knows that, it's that the people that are going to read this book that it's ready for them to read it. Because
Cool.
that is my goal, that is to share faith with them, to make
Mhm.
them at least think.
Kind of
Um,
ask a question,
it's
or
kind of like
as Jesus
like
said, plant a seed.
yeah, kind of
And
like what Caleb said. He said, I share this, what I went through with everyone, and it's up to them to receive it or
yeah,
to reject it.
yeah,
I
and
just ask to
I
respect
love
it.
that little moment. I just love that little moment. Like, and that did stand out to me. Like, and like, well, how I like that Caleb was like, he's like open about his faith. He's not ashamed of it or anything.
Mhm,
But he's like also like people can accept it, people can reject it. That's up to them to decide. He's
mhm.
like, I can't force them to, and I'm like, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I
And
and I wanted David to be kind of like that too. Like he has the attitude that a lot of young people have. It's just like,
mhm,
like, you actually believe that stuff.
yeah,
you know. And
I've heard that a lot. As someone who is only 23 years old, that's I am surrounded by like the people like online and like my generation who are like, oh, well, like you actually believe that stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I didn't
yeah.
always, but I do. Um, which I'm so thankful that like I changed my life around and all that.
Yeah.
But it's a good book, and I'm gonna give it a positive review.
Thank you.
It's great. You did a great job writing it, and I
Mhm,
think especially people in like the GCA, I think it's cool that like more people are buying it and all that.
mhm.
And I'm also trying to get more people to actually, who have read it, like to leave a review on Amazon, trying to get more people like, get it out there more.
Yeah.
Because like I want it to succeed. And I think even any little bit of any positive review helps,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah, it
think
definitely
it's
does.
one of the stories that deserves to be kind of out there. And like when I was doing the live when I was live on For the Homies a few months ago, um,
Mhm.
that happened a few times. I was like, it's like, can you not? um, but yeah, it's anyway. Going back to the book, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be having a link for the book in the description, and I'm gonna have
Oh, thank you.
you know,
I'm trying to like
like,
keep myself from not spoiling book 2 for you because I'm like
yeah.
so excited, man. There's gonna be
Well,
like
I can tell you're
there's gonna
excited,
be
and
like revelations in that one that is just gonna
oh,
like blow your mind. You're
I
gonna
am
be like,
excited,
"What the?"
honestly. I like, and I can
I'm
tell
really
you're
excited for that.
excited for it. I can tell like it's a huge like
More fights.
thing.
I
Yeah.
love those.
Yes.
More fight
um,
scenes.
yeah, and yeah, I like it, and I can't wait for the sequel. And I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a great to explore more of the world,
Mhm,
and I like that the whole goal of like you want it kind of be its own universe thing,
mhm.
and I think that's cool.
But one
Um,
thing I noticed is that I need to be an online
mhm,
presence because I've never really done that, and I never really
yeah,
thought it could. This is like
well,
it's like crazy.
I mean, you have
I'm
a whole
doing
bunch
this
of
right now.
people at the GCA who are like trying to help you out, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
um and but like I'm trying to like just I think I had this idea kind of come to mind as I was finishing reading the book, and I was like, huh, that's actually an idea. And I remember where I was. I was like in the parking lot of my job waiting for my father to, get off
Yeah.
work because I was just sitting there. I was like reading, and I was like, wait a minute, that's a I started having a question. I was like, wait a minute, I have so many questions. I'm thinking about asking, and I was like, why don't I just like conduct it in like an interview sense? And now this is the first interview I've ever conducted in my life. So,
Oh, wow. That's cool.
um, yeah. So I was like, I was like, it'd be an interesting way to kind of like, start uploading again, and then, um, and like when I ask you, like, are you okay with like recording it? I didn't want to just spring that on you, or like, hey, like we're gonna be recording this video, recording this, and I was like, it's kind of a good way to get your book out there as well. And then
Mhm.
again, I'm not the most popular person. I get my,
Doesn't
my views
matter.
my videos get like 50 views at most. So like that, even if that's one person like going to the book or something, I think that's cool. And I hope any little bit of like shout out helps and all that. And
Mhm. They'll give me time too to edit the book because I think it takes 72 hours for it to set in.
yeah, and
So they'll give me time to like fix those errors
yeah, and
and check it again and see what the heck's going on with that.
yeah, and well, like Amazon's funky, and I've never, you know, release release anything on Amazon.
Mhm.
Um, and it's good. Um, I I I don't know the hassles behind shipping and publishing on Amazon, especially when it comes to books.
Mhm.
Although that might be something I might want to learn about.
Yeah, yeah,
I
they're gonna charge you for shipping, so even if you're an Amazon Prime member, keep
Mhm.
that in mind.
Yeah, and
You do get a discount though on the book, but still.
yeah, and I'm like that's I'm still like I'm still writing stuff, so I'm got a little ways to go. Um, like I read Sid Field's screenplay.
Mm,
Um, I don't know if you read that one.
no.
It's one of the original kind of like not guides, but like not step by step, but like advice on how to write a screenplay, like the modern day screenplay.
Mm, mhm.
And if you're only interested in kind of writing books and all that, then kind of goes out the window. But like you wrote a,
The
a
screenplay. Yeah.
screenplay, so that one, and like there's a Save the Cat book, which is also really good. Which I still haven't read that one. I've been focusing on the Sitfield screenplay, and oh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah.
And all the other software that is kind of popular, and stuff like that. That stuff costs a fortune. Like
Mhm.
not really a writing software, but to get even like 1 month of this of like StreamYard, that's like $45. It's like
Mhm.
it's a not cheap.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't really have any more questions and all that. So if you got nothing left to go, you can kind of shout out your kind of shout out your book, or if you're trying to start your channel, you can shout out your channel, and I can link it in the description too. And
Okay. Well,
yeah,
first off, thank you so much for reading my book and thank you for letting me know what you think about it. I remember I asked you about the dialogue if it seemed realistic between guys because the majority of the characters in my book are guys.
yeah,
And
it,
so
it seemed fine to me. So
yeah, I wanted to make the dialogue, as close as I could, for being a
yeah,
girl.
and
So
well, it's always wise to kind of ask questions and like all that. So
yeah.
you're better than I am doing. So, but yeah,
Okay, so just that this story is one of many stories I've written a long time ago, but this story has become like a dream that I just really need. It's like I can just imagine it being some, growing into so much more, and I just appreciate the support
mhm.
um, of anybody. I don't know how to say it. The support
um,
of the story, so that I
yeah,
can continue writing the story and finish the story and just go from there.
yeah, and it's a fun book. I'm definitely gonna link it in the description. I'm gonna link it in the comments too. I'm gonna try to get this out there a lot more. And like I like supporting like my friends and like people like that who because like I'm very much into the whole like the indie space can't just rely on
Um,
people who have
mhm.
just ideas. Like people have to take action and put in the effort, and like you've taken action, and it's a great first like kind of step in this series. And
Yeah. Mm.
anyway, it's first time I've done an outro in front of someone, so a lot of firsts here.
Signing out.
Peace out. No, anyway, yeah, that's really it for this video. So if you guys like it, you know, hit the like button, share it, and follow, like, you know, go to Amazon. It's Project 7 Roman numerals, not the number 7, because that will leak you to something completely different. Um and yeah, it's a good book, recommend it. I'll link in the description and all that, so anyone who wants to check it out can. And anyway, peace out everyone, and see you guys in whatever next video.